Well, good evening. And welcome. Fantastic. It's always a lovely problem to try and squeeze extra people in. That's great. And there's so many other meetings on tonight in the village. They're all over the place. So, well done. You've picked the best one. Delighted to have you here. This is Winter Talk number 3 out of 14. If you didn't know, the leaflets are all lying around as you leave up at the top there as well. So do grab them. We do them approximately fortnightly on a Wednesday at 7, and we run for approximately an hour, Sandy, but we'll see how that goes. Okay. And then the bar is open afterwards for 1 hour, but if you're not a member, we ask you to sign in. Make sure you do that, please. We'll come back to that. This one is great. We were thinking, what will we be doing this winter? What could we do? And I erroneously had spotted this 50th anniversary of the rugby club and made this assumption that the two, happened together. So I'm saying to Sandy, oh, that's great. You've got a big anniversary coming. And saying, no, we're a few years just behind. You'll find out. And I thought, okay, we'll just drop that. But no, we'll say, this is a great moment. Let's just tell you all about the sports club, because it is our community game. It means so much to us in FINTRY. So much has happened. Sandy has to sit down. You all understand why. Because of the sport club and the ice. No. But Sandy has got a broad teacher voice, so you'll be fine with that. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to tell the story of the birth and beyond of FINTRY Sports Club, Sandy Kelso.
Well, thanks very much for that, David. I must admit, you were all walking in there, I thought, oh God, I haven't mentioned this and I haven't mentioned that. There's a lot of things that I haven't mentioned, but I'm coming at it from my own perspective. Your perspective of the sports club and what happened and why it should have happened or it shouldn't have happened is yours. So bear that in mind as I go through this. My recollections might not be quite as good as yours. I'm going to get the boring bit over and read the wee bit out to you about the start of the club. I don't know whether you've seen this wee brochure that was produced years ago. I hope you haven't, because otherwise I'm reading to something either in there. In 1977, Mr. Hercules Robinson gifted to the people of FINTRY an area of the Isles Field, big enough for a football pitch, in memory of his aunt, Mrs. Ruth Menzies, a much respected lady and former owner of Kilcrew. The area was to be known as the Ruth Menzies of Kilcrew Memorial Field. It was originally intended as a football field for the primary school, but Mr. Robinson was advised that if he were to give it to the school, it would automatically become the property of Central Regional Council. Good move. He therefore gave it to the Jubilee Committee and then on to the Community Council as a recreational area for the village. It was an excellent site in the centre of the village and suitable for several sports. The Community Council appointed a steering committee to decide where best to site it, while carrying out Mr. Robinson's wishes that the primary purpose was the benefit of children in FINTRY. The committee, chaired by Mr. Callum Bannerman, approached its task with a completely open mind and was prepared to consider all possibilities. A questionnaire was sent to every household asking what they would like to have in the field, and the answers were many and varied. The most popular was a swimming pool.
Well, you get that every so often.
Well, we've got one right out the front door there, haven't we? All sources of grants were investigated without success. The problem was simple: grants could not be given to community councils. The remedy was equally simple: an independent club would be formed which would lease the field from the community council. The first meeting was held in the Mingus Hall on the 26th of March 1979. So we've got 4 years to go, David, for our 50th anniversary. Mr. Peter McLean was appointed chairman, Jim Marshall vice chairman, Moira Perrott secretary and Marie Tedeschi treasurer. from that moment, rapid progress was made. And I think that's fair to say. So a happy coincidence when all this was happening, because the gift from Mrs. Mingus, or from Herky, as we affectionately call him, came about at the same time as the Community Council was thinking about a sports club, at the same time as Strathedrick Rugby Club and Fintry Football Club were looking for a pitch. So all of these things coming together made it quite a good project for to be taken on.
You tapped it twice is what happens.
No, that's okay. I meant to tap it twice. That's okay. So there's the original Heed Bummers who were involved in it. On the left-hand side is Hercules Robinson, who was the owner of Colcruch, a very colourful character. He was the man who famously followed people back to their home. They came to the Colcruch Castle, got a tartan rug out, a wee picnic, and had their picnic right in the front lawn. And Herky followed them home to Bear's Den and got his picnic table out in the So that was the type of character that it was. Then two in the middle, Margaret and Jim McEwen. They were local farmers. They've both been dead quite a while now, but they were really the financial influence behind the building of the club. Margaret was quite a nippy sweetie. She's and so are you, by the way. She was, when she used to help here at in the bar. She had an in-service course for all the girls making the sandwiches, that you had to cut them in a certain way and cut the bits off. These were for guys from Springburn who just wanted a game of bowls. but she was very pernickety in that kind of way. That particular night when the boys from were over here for a game of bowls, she was serving drinks, and can I give people that? and of course, when people come out, I was there, happened serving it, saying, "Can I help you?" No, I'm just waiting for that woman because very healthy servings of the drink was going out from Margaret. We soon put her right, of course. And Jim was a local farmer. He was somebody who, late in life, came to realise that there was more to life than farming. And he was a big shot, main man behind the Best Kept Village Society, and took them on, along with the rest of the committee, to winning Best Kept Village in Britain, and then went on from that to enter the European one, which they went to Norway and found out why they weren't going to win, because the villages there were just something else. But it was really quite something. He even invited the National Geographic equivalent in Italy, and they did a whole feature on Fintry, and it was published in the Italian National Geographic magazine. He gave me some very good advice as well, Jim. He was saying, "Look, Sandy, we used to have quite serious talks. Look, Sandy, don't scratch when you can tickle." And very good advice, very good advice. And I think people, you'll all testify that I very rarely scratch anybody now. The man on the right-hand side is Callum Bannerman. He had owned Provinson Farm and had a fine big barn which we made good use of on many occasions. Very assertive person, and Callum usually got what he wanted in a nice way. He was a great help, and we'll hear a wee bit more about him later on. He was manager of Sportsworks, and that came in very handy when we were wanting to build a bund round the river here, because at one time that bank that you see around the river wasn't there, and the water just flooded over. The house across the road get flooded, and so did the houses and the council houses. They get flooded regularly until this boon was put up by Callum's digger driver. And it made a huge difference to the people there and protected the club as well. The man at the back is Peter McLean. There's Peter with his wife Liz. Sorry. Liz and Peter were quite characters, great characters in FINTRY as well. Peter was, what could you call him? An ideas man. He had lots of great ideas, usually getting other people to carry them out. But he had great ideas and a great debater. He always took the opposite side from you, not because he believed in it, but to test that you really knew what you were talking about. And Peter was elected the chairman of the community council of the sports club, and led us on to great things. Liz was a great cook, and she had, the two of them had restaurants in different parts of the village. As they get evicted from one, they moved on to the next one. And Peter was the main man in out front. He would go in for a meal and you say, could I have lasagna please, Peter? Oh no, you don't want that, no. and you know, but I would like, no. Just trust me. It's a Strathian steak that you want tonight. And he was right, they were beautiful. Liz's Strathian steaks were absolutely fantastic. So we got to the stage when we went in, we would just say, what are we having tonight, Peter? No point in asking what you felt like. But Peter was a really inspirational character, a total con man. We had a meeting in the village hall, and he even had, believe it or not, an overhead projector. And they had the overhead projector and showing up and all the statistics up there, how we could do this, how much money it was going to cost. And everybody came out thinking, oh, this is a doddle, we'll manage this, no bother at all. Which it didn't turn out to be quite like that, but it turned out to exist, and that was the main thing. He wanted a sports club, and he insisted that it was called FINTRY Sports and Recreation Club. It's not about sports people running and getting sweaty. It's about people want to do that, fine. But there's other people who just want somewhere to go with their pals, their friends, and I think he was right in that sense. And I think the club has gone the way Peter wanted it. He was here, they went to Australia quite a few years ago, and he came back, and I saw him take great pleasure out of sitting there just watching things happening. And it was exactly as he had pictured it and foretold the way things would go, and he was right all the way. So that was the main team then. That's the main team. We had a meeting in the Mingus Hall, and it was overwhelmingly voted that the sports club should exist. There were 3 people against it, and one of them was a gentleman called David Henderson. And he spoke very eloquently about why he thought it wasn't the right thing for the village, but there was only 3 people against it, and we carried through. And the very first membership form that came back was from David Henderson. And it just shows you the type of people that were living in the village. They might not agree with it, but they'll support it. And you know, that attitude is carried on till today. That people do support things that might not be their cup of tea. I mean, the last thing I ever wanted to do was go to a panto up in the village hall. But keep me away from it now. No way. You know, we want to do it now. So that was Peter, and the meeting carried forward, and of course Hertie got in the scene because Hertie was giving us the land, and there's a wee bit of information there. Moira is quoted, I don't know whether you can see the writing in that or not, I can from here, but she was saying the first phase was as we've got, the first bit that we built, the squash courts and the changing rooms, etc. But phase 2, it says, and we'll need at least another £70,000 for phase 2 that consists of all-weather tennis courts, a putting green and outdoor drafts and chess. Well, we got the outdoor drafts because Colin Fraser built a very nice big draft thing, and unfortunately I had to go when we were building other things there. But I'm afraid, Moira, you didn't get your wish for the other things, the all-weather tennis courts and the putting green. Well, there were other priorities in the village by that time. And there we were then, the order for the building went out to a country, Barrington, I think it was Barrington, can you remember, Meg, what it was? Barrington Homes or something like that. And they were building it. So, to be honest, this is about the only picture I can find that's about the actual first building, the squash courts, etc. Because being a private building, you're always shut off from what they're doing, you're not allowed in. And so they went ahead and built a fine facility, and you'll maybe recognise some folk in the village, and there's quite a stack of them. I'll maybe put that picture up later on, and you can identify some of your friends that were at the official opening of it. Unfortunately, things went wrong then, because we found that the bit of land that we got from Hertie wasn't big enough for a rugby pitch. And that the part that we brought from them is the bottom part, the grey bit next to Hugh Fraser. That's the bit of land, small piece compared with the whole field. So we had to buy a bit of field, and that the little bit there is the extra bit, the first purchase, and that allowed a rugby park to be built in that space. And then at a later date, we found out that there was plans to build houses on the bottom part of it, and the sports club committee were quite determined that this was going to stay the village green, and we didn't want housing there. But Sir Hugh Fraser had applied for permission, or through Sir Hugh Fraser, it was his land, and the company applied for, I think it was 14 houses on that piece of ground. And Sir Hugh was getting £35,000 for that. And then suddenly he wanted to know if we wanted to buy the field for £6,000. Guess what? The planning permission was turned down, and it's made out, and you'll see in the next picture or two, that he was gifting it more or less to the village, which his public relations people made a good job of, because people did think that, but in fact it was because there was no planning permission being granted. Maybe I'm being cynical here, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. So you can see that as things stand just now, the sports club owns quite a stretch. The big wee lease is the bottom part, and the rest of it is owned by the sports club. And the whole idea was that we would have an umbrella organisation, and this was a badge designed by Trevor Walters, and the trees represent the constituent parts of the club. There's the bridge, looking a wee bit ramshackle, I've got to say there, and the building there housing all the sports. Quite a nice wee idea, and it continues to today. Sometimes the sports change, the activities change, but the idea of everybody benefiting off each other is the whole principle behind the sports club. That one group might need money one year, everybody helps them to get that and move on to the next project and so on. So that's why we very rarely make a profit, because any profits we've got gets spent on somebody else's priority, and so the club has developed the way it has. And this is the bit of paper I was talking about with Sir Hugh. This is him telling us what a great guy he's been and giving us but in fact, the last bit of the paragraph there tells us, gives the game away, that it was refused permission. Now, because I've not got any pictures of the actual building of the squash area, I just sort of paint a picture for you that the squash changing area and the rugby changing area were one and the same, which meant that dirty activities and clean activities were getting changed in the one space, which, believe it or not, made it very dangerous for the squash players, because they would take muck into the squash courts, make it very slippy, and so we had to do something about changing that and getting other changing facilities. So the squash was doing well at that time. The way you booked your squash court was you had a stamp machine, and you put your 50 pence in, got your stamp, and stuck your stamp with your initials on it onto the calendar, and that was you had booked your sport. Everybody who was a member of the club got a key. So at that time there was about 200 keys out. Security was not considered at that time. But you could just go in and go in any time you wanted, as long as your stamp was on it. And we actually did very well. The money wise, it was really the basis of the building, the lounge and the bowling hall. The money that we were making from squash. Now, there's hardly anybody playing at squash. Mm-hmm. It got a terrible press from being a killer sport when people, were collapsing, and I'll bet you it's no more than what happens in a football field. But it was just that it got really bad press, and we weren't the only club to suffer. The membership to squash has gone right down. So anyway, we had to get new changing rooms. So we were raising money, and the whole focus of lots of the club's activities has been getting enough money. The SRU, the rugby union, people would give us an interest-free loan of £25,000, and the only thing was, and this surprised us, the only thing was it had to be for a community project, not a rugby project. Rugby could be involved in it, but it had to be a community project. And so the way the changing rooms, well, it was community because it wasn't just rugby that was benefiting, and with the toilets were built on at that time, part of the kitchen was improved, and they accepted it quite nicely. And so we were getting 25,000. The money took a long time to get, and eventually I had to go through to Murrayfield and chap the treasurer's door, and so to speak. It was just after the game against Ireland, and I think Scotland has been doing particularly well at that time. They seemed to have money to throw away, and the guy came in and says, "Who are you again?" I says, "It's from Strathclyde Rugby Club, FINTRY Sports Club." "Oh, I remember that. I went there one time." And I says, "What we owe you?" I said, "Well, £25,000. Right, next. It was so easy for them to give the money at that time. Changed days, because it's very difficult to get money out of anybody nowadays. But that was how easy it was then. Just ask for the money and we got it, and we paid them back at no interest, so it was a good deal. So we then got that built as the changing rooms, the changing rooms through the front here. We altered the rooms at the front because that's where the two the rugby and the squash changed. We got rid of all that, made it all toilets, and built the rugby changing rooms out where they are now. So we've got the thing up now. We've got new changing rooms. What is that? Don't shout out if you know. Come on now, class. Anybody who doesn't know what it is, like to hazard a guess? Sorry?
Heating system?
Egg gathering machine for
No, it is to do with the heating. It's to do with the that's an auger, which this all gets filled up with wood, and that auger goes round and takes the wood into the wood chips into there. You'll see that we didn't quite measure up the hole correctly. That goes through, and that he's now. I'm mentioning this just now because the sports club would not exist as it is at the moment, was it not for FINTRY Development Trust, because they have been absolutely spectacularly helpful to us in terms of support from the club and helping us when we really needed the help. This was the heating system cost, I think it was £73,000, and they got most of the money from that in terms for grants, and also gave us a loan and a grant themselves to pay for it. So, we're really very indebted to them. Recently we've had problems with the solar panels. The solar panels had to come off, and there's all sorts of we got new solar panels as part of the guarantee, but work had to be done, and they gave us another lump sum of money and a loan to bail us out of that one. All the lighting in the club is LED lights, lots of insulation. They got double glazing, some triple glazing in the windows, all provided by FINTRY Development Trust. So a wee round of applause for FINTRY Development Trust. This was the start of the bowling hall, and you can see it looks quite big there, doesn't it? The gravel that you see in the picture and along the ground, there's piles of gravel, and that is 4 feet thick. So it's that amount of gravel came out of the river. In those days, it was easy to do that because you actually could get a permit to take stuff out of the river. Unfortunately, I didn't know that you needed a permit to do it. And we had taken quite a bit out until the guy from the Clyde Purification Board came and said, we've found it at last. And what have you found? He says, the source of all the silt that's flowing into Loch Lomond. So I apologised humbly and asked him, could he give us another hour just to get the job finished? and he agreed, so it couldn't have been all that serious. But that was all put in there and manhandled by the rugby team. The rugby boys had, don't know how many training sessions in there. So their barrows going back and forward, and they were a great help in building that and getting it levelled out, ready for the concrete to go on top. Each one of the posts that you see there has got a 1 cubic metre of concrete below it. And these posts are buried in there, and they're not going to go anywhere. And it's, one bay was left open so that we could get lorries or the wee dumper truck in and out and get the concrete in and out as well when it comes to lay the surface. And this concrete was 4 inches thick with a layer of wire and another 4 inches thick. So it's a really solid concrete floor. built by a company from Leicester, top class, like glass. The whole thing was actually like glass when they left. And I'll maybe I'll tell you the story now that I've got this far. But Jimmy McGibbon had a wee dog called Goldie. And one night at 12 o'clock at night, I get a call and it was Jimmy. Sandy, disaster. I said, what's happened? Goldie is running all over the bowling hole.
Oh no!
And the concrete hasn't set, or it was just in the process of setting. Oh, Jimmy, what and because Jimmy being Jimmy, we'll get it right, we'll get it right. I said, you'll need to get the guys back. I said, they're staying at the Clachan. I said, can you go at 12 o'clock at night and get somebody out of their bed to get them back and do another shift? I said, you'll need to. So I had to go along and get these guys. Fortunately, because it was their last night, because they'd finished, they were having a wee drink, and I managed to persuade them to come back along. They worked till 3 o'clock in the morning with these big, the big rotary things that they got, and they got it back. And being Jimmy, of course, you could get angry with Jimmy. I was angry with Goldie, right enough. But we managed to get it, and it was fantastic that they were prepared to do that. Jimmy, I'll just go on a couple of slides here because I'm going to be out of time. Hurry up. There's Jimmy, and now you can see the thickness of the gravel on either side of Jimmy there. So that was all spread over the floor of the building, and Jimmy was there first day. It was a really cold day, and we called him Mere Concrete McGibbon because he always wanted mere concrete. It didn't matter what you were doing, you were laying it in mere concrete. I said, Jimmy, I think we're just about there, Jimmy. I'll tell you when we're there. Mere concrete. And this concrete is going, oh God, and the snotters are coming down his He got his pocket for his hanky. He'd bring his hanky out, and all the wee bits of fluff were going everywhere. Do you want a pan drop? But that was McGibbon. That was it. If there ever was a time when you had to have a substitute father, Jimmy McGibbon would be my man. He was a wonderful guy, and he gave a lot to the club. He and Davy Bell and Margaret Bell used to run the club when people come in. They were great hosts, and people coming in, and really missed Jimmy quite a bit. I've got one. Oh, there he is again. What did I do there, David?
The left-hand arrow key. There, will take you back on that one.
Right. That's it. This was a time, and quite a few of you, I recognise one or two people who were actually at this day when we called a wee work party and we needed people to come and help. We do a whole lot of wee odd jobs. You were there, David, if I remember rightly. One or two other folk. And Jimmy was there as well, painting away. And needless to say, his shirt got paint on it. The floor, the carpet got a lot of paint on it as well. Somebody came to clean it up and I said, leave that paint alone, that's Jimmy McGibbon's paint. Just you leave that where it is. I think it might still be there yet on the carpet. But he mucked in all the time, and he was a great ambassador for the club. One wee point I should have mentioned earlier on, and it was silly of me not to mention this, but before we had any buildings at all, we did have the offer of a building, and Steve Smith came in one day and said, I've got a building, a school in Dumbarton is getting demolished, and there was a big porta cabin outside it, and it would just be the job for the changing rooms. So we he said, can you get a lorry? So Jock MacArthur, I phoned Jock, is your lorry available? We went through to Dumbarton, it was a freezing day. We actually had to scrape the snow off because it had all been taken apart, but to scrape the ice off it and brought it back to FINTRY, and then the committee spent about 2 days after that denailing all the stuff, and it lay there for 3 months, and then we got word that we had got a grant to build the building proper, and so we sold the wood for £1,400.
Wow.
I mean, it didn't cost us anything, so what a bargain we got from that. But that was the extent we went to, you know. And John Duckworth and myself and Kenny Kilgour went down to Blackpool to see about getting a building. And down in Blackpool, I found my ideal bowling hall, because it has a same size as ours bowling hall, but it had Chesterfield suite chairs all the way around. So that's what we're going to be like eventually. But it was a real eye opener. We examined the steelwork and it wasn't really good enough, and so we rejected it. But we had a good night out in Blackpool. When we got back, of course, we had enough money to get a proper building put up. Right now, David. Right one now. Oh yes, there we are. This is the extension of the out of the lounge. The lounge was a real dark, dreary, dreich place. It was very dark because this wall was covered over. It was no windows in it, and so when we had a revamp with this huge big gap to fill, and well, you know, just the doors just out there. The glass panels were put in there, and it made a huge difference to the inside of the building. And part of that great difference came about with that gentleman on the left there, because Paul Carey and Sandy Kilburn, they were dispatched up to the roof. And Paul had brought 4 of these solar tubes. If you've never heard of a solar tube, find out about them, because they are absolutely fantastic. We've got 4 of them in the lounge, and during the day, the light that comes from them is absolutely fantastic. And they were dispatched to put these up, and along with a lot of other changes to the roof, there was a. Oh, that's somebody else. What have I done now?
It's just you're holding your hand too long.
Too long.
Tap it and leave it. It just takes us.
Left arrow.
Left arrow.
Right. This is a group of people from Santander. The big chap in the middle there is Brian Thompson, who lives next door to Alec Fitzsimmons in the main street. His wife's on the committee here, and he works for Santander. He's one of the bosses, I think, and he had all these guys come out on their civic day where each branch is asked to do something for the local community. So they gave us a day's work and all the paint and everything that we needed to paint the lounge, the squash area, the changing rooms, and the corridors. The guy on the left there, who's been a bit of a mess, must have been a pal of Jimmy McGibbon's, I think. He's been a bit of a mess of his shirt. But it's this kind of people chipping in and helping which has made the club what it is. People have spent a lot of time in here who had a tenuous link with the club, and it became a real fully established link once they get to know what we're all about. And these guys played a good helping hand in that, and so did these guys here, Stig and Sean. They are young there, so that they were putting the floor down. One thing, there isn't any of the family here, is there? Thank goodness for that. Because you see that boy in the second from the right. Who does he look like?
Sean.
He's a spitting image of Sean, isn't he? I just wonder whether there's been something going on.
This is where the rumours start.
He's an absolute spitting image of him.
Just about. That's fine, you're all right. That's okay.
The Tracy, who used to be the manager here, and John Steedman. First time I've ever seen John lifting anything. But he's got this was us taking the roof down to put a new roof back up again. And it's amazing when you see how conditions have changed. Where that roof hit the wall, when we took it apart, the wall was brown with nicotine stains. And above it, it was white.
Yeah.
That's what all our insides were taken. A hell of a thing. And I mean, it really let you see just how good a move it was to ban smoking from inside the club. Some people used to try and swing the lead a bit. I've got a sore leg, sorry, I can't, love to help, but I can't. Well, you can, Wally. And he laid down quite the thing there and did a wee paint job for us. Or is it plastering? I'm not sure. But again, you know, people very willing to help, and that's what we need. We've had a lot of events in the club. Would anybody like to care? Some of you will know who's been here and who's not been. Would anybody like to guess what the biggest attendance was and who it was that attracted that attendance?
Outsiders.
Well, very close, but not. Well, I don't think you're going to get it. Oh, David, what are we doing here?
No, you're going to
sorry.
It is your next one.
This is the events here.
Yeah.
There they are there. The African Children's Choir. We had 800 people in for that night, and luckily a lot of them were small, so they could lie along the floor and anywhere that there was space for them. But what a lovely bunch of kids! And it was Irene, my wife, that organised that night, and she got families to put them all up. And we weren't making any money out of it. All went to their funds for their project in Africa. But they put on a fair old show, and there they are in full flight. Oh, and there's Irene's band. Beat that, the best women's drumming band in Stirling. And they were great. They used to open up all the concerts. They came and played at the front, and people were arriving. They would be beating their hearts out, and it was a great introduction to the nights that we had. We've had lots of really super nights. And the next slide might seem a bit odd. There's Ken and Helen. Helen preparing him from the fun run, getting his number on. And the reason why I put this in is because Ken used to be on the British Boxing Board of Control. And we had 3 boxing nights on in Balfron High School. And there we are with full publicity, getting the Stirling Observer. In order to get a good crowd in, Ken advised us to get a local boy to box. And there happened to be a boy in Balfron who was into boxing, so they got him about on the boxing. The place was absolutely mobbed. We sold tables and people brought their friends, etc. And this lad, I will not mention his name, he was a whirlwind, and a whirlwind, that was his style of boxing, And he came against this Pakistani boy, who his game was And the whirlwind stood no chance at all. He just kept getting his fist in his face, you know, like that. But give him his due, he attracted a big crowd, and it was a good marketing on Ken's part. Ken's dad, you'll remember, was Dr. Bartley, who used to, I think Helen was at Kildare. He was in Kildare now, and he was a doctor there, aye. And Ken took us to a boxing match in Cambus Lang, and they said, murder a pint. It was hundreds of people between us and the bar. It was terrible. So he said, "Hey father, we're all needing a drink." As the way Ken would say it, "No, we're all needing a drink, father." and he says, "Oh, gets his stethoscope out." And he goes, "Right, excuse me boy, oh, Dr. Bartley. Gets to the bar, 4 pints of lager. So that's why that's it. That we had again made lots of money from these nights, and everybody was working hard to do that. You might know some people in this next one as well. There's Julian Smith on the left. There's Victoria, and on the right there's Karen and Julie. I don't know who the girl next to Karen's right is, but the main thing in the photograph is none of them at all. It's the thing in the middle. The bull. An enormous bull. Because we had the barn dances at Provincetown Farm, and Callum Bannerman insisted the bull has got, cannot have a Scottish barn dance without the bull in the corner. So that poor beast sat there the whole night. St John's Carmichael Thingamajig Band. and it was I suspect that the beast might have had a few pints of Guinness in it. But that was another great way of raising funds. And we did get evicted. We're always getting evicted. We got evicted from Townhead Farm. We had a killie up there with middle of the road. Ooh, chirpy. That's it. What's his name again? Eric. Eric used to live in the village. And we finally persuaded him to do up at the barn dance, and things went well. And the next morning we went up to clear up a wee bit, and John Davis, the farmer, "Oh Sandy, this will not do. I'm trying to be Welsh now. This will not do. So you're not coming back here again." I said, "What's wrong?" He gets this bag out. 2,500 lying in a bale of straw. We'd left it. We'd all gone in for a wee pint after that. And we left £2,500 in the thing. If that happened now, Brenda would have had my guts for gas. But it was just such a great atmosphere. Possibly might have lost the great atmosphere as well. But that was John's barn suppers. There's three of the girls there, and there's everything all set. I think we can say that we're the only barn supper that's ever had two of the First Ministers of Scotland at it. We had Nicola Sturgeon, who proposed the immortal memory, and we had Jack McConnell. And so that's quite something to have these folk. Other events we've had to raise money. How are we doing for time, David?
Yeah, 10 to 8 years, 50 to keep going. Yeah, that's about halfway.
This was Heather Smith. Now, where is Heather here tonight?
Yeah.
Heather, who was the leader of that choir? Can you remember? Well, you organised it. What did you think the name was?
Was it Christopher somebody, Heather? It was one of these days where we all came to learn how to sing a song and then perform it in the evening.
Yeah, that was right.
Was it Christopher Bell?
Yes, that's
Christopher
it. That's
Bell.
it. Yes,
Christopher
that's it.
Bell.
And we
Yeah.
all sang the Messiah.
Yeah.
Christopher Bell.
Well, this was this was I think it was a charity event. This one, but it's a lovely atmosphere, and it went very, very well. This guy looked like, no, he didn't. He sounded like Elvis, but looked nothing like him. But went over well. And again, the tribute bands, whilst they're not ideal, they they're quite cheap. And, and if your main object is fundraising, then that's it. And of course, a lot of the events we held were charitable events. Here we have way back in the dim and distant past. We've got Jumbo there, Jumbo Marshall, Jim Nolan in the middle, Tom and Dot, and the wee fella Dougie. Aye, so quite a few. I recognise a few of the kids along there, young Kelso as well. And these were great. These were great days. Good fun. Oh, missed that one out. The cash is rolling in from the fun run. Moira, this was one of Moira's pets. That there had to be occasions when people weren't necessarily, it wasn't costing anything. There were people getting sweaty for the sweatiness' sake, because it's good for you. And she really insisted on that, and she was right. There we're at the finish. Now
And you want to go back on here, just
left.
left.
This is a good picture. Here, but this is the start of the hill race, and the main focus of should be the picture on the right hand side, which has got Dot there, Dougie. Dot won the ladies' race, and Dougie won the primary school race, and the boy next to them is the world champion Dunmore racer. Well, we'll wait till you hear the time.
Yeah.
16 minutes and 59 seconds
Yeah.
from the school to the top of Dunmore, back again.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody in the world could beat that time.
No.
And it's not because I had the stop clock on at the time, but that was the time, 16 minutes and 59 seconds. And we had the chap used to work in a high school called Bill Leishman, and Bill said, I'm going to take this boy on. So he was with him at the top. He was with the guy right to the top, and he was 4 or 5 minutes behind at the end of the race. The guy just flew down. He would just jump from stone to stone, and that's where these races are won. If you ever want to enter it. I've
got another one. That's it. Yeah.
There's Ross. This is Ross Kitwood. He was FINTRY champion quite a few years running, and we always had great entries. Unfortunately, health and safety rules make it a wee bit difficult to run the race now, because it's got very slippy, and the least danger there is, you can't hold it. And it's a shame. But obviously we will keep running it if we can get the right conditions.
And your left, you're hearing crying.
Come on.
I think.
Yeah, boy. Come on.
Yeah. Just do it again. Why did the left one go? What were you doing?
I'm just pressing the left one.
No, right. I don't.
That'll just leave that.
No,
one.
we're on the wrong one. It's that.
Oh, that one, right.
That one.
Right, that's it. Right.
That's it.
Right. So that was the Hue and Cry concert. And we had a fair crowd in, but not enough. And we actually made a loss on that one. And charities, when you're running events, we are a charity, you're not allowed to make a loss unless it's a one-off event. So we had to call Canny on the size of groups that we've got coming. We've made quite a bit of loss there. We've had loads of different people on. I've got a big long list here. We're going to run over there, but
Yeah, no,
people. Okay. We've had Lindisfarne, Eddie Reader. When Eddie came in and saw the mirror that Steve McLean had made on the wall, she said, you know, the big mirror, which is a tribute to the work that Geoffrey Smith has done for the club. She said, oh, that's lovely. Could that be taken off and put up in my dressing room, please? So I said, no, unfortunately, they need a JCB to get it up there. But I'll get you a mirror. So I went up to the house and found the smallest mirror. and gave her that one. She wasn't too pleased. But imagine asking somebody to take it. Right, now that's Hue and Cry out of the way. Now we'll move on to the rugby club. This was one of the events. Now, the rugby club over the years has done amazingly well, and you probably, I'm not want to repeat things that were on their display. They had it here a couple of weeks ago for their 50th anniversary, but they've come on in a really amazing way. And this is the group going away through to Murrayfield for, I think they were playing, it wasn't the semi-final of the Scottish Cup, I think it was another semi-final or a final against the local regional leagues, and it was played at Murrayfield. And there's young Logan with his auntie Dawn. And there we all are. You can recognise yourself. Rosie, you're right at the front there shouting your mouth off there.
Shouting from a boy.
And that the whole squad, we had a lot of people there. And this was before the crowd came in. That's the score, 0-0. And there's young Andrew Spence. He was the mascot for the day, and had a good game, cracking game, gave a good account of themselves, and that's the game. The crowd had left by that time. They knew the score, but a very respectable result for the win. It was a great day, and who put that on, for heaven's sake? Just keep your eyes peeled now. Oh, wrong one. That's okay, I'll miss that one out. That was the party he held in here after the come back from the Murrayfield. They had a wee party, and inevitably the rugby guys, somebody always wants to go starker. We've had when the next story I'm going to tell you about the rugby was when they went to Megatland, I think it was, and they were playing Boroughmuir in the semi-final of the Scottish Cup. I mean, this is like Balfron Rovers playing Rangers at Hampden Park, and they got, everything was cancelled in the whole area. If you're a burglar in this area, that date, the place was empty. Everybody was at the Megaland. And the boys come out, and I feared for worse when I saw the other team, because they come out and they were tanks, they were muscular, they were tall, fit as a fiddle. And then the other boys come kind of waddling out a wee bit. And it was obvious that we were maybe going to be outgunned here. But 5 minutes into the game, penalty kick for Smith-Hendrick, 3-0 to Strathendrick. And then Ian Rogers starts up, can you hear Buttermere sing? No, no. And so on, and you know, everybody knew what was going to happen, of course. And it ended up, the score was 96-3. But that didn't matter, because the glory had all been had before that. And the glory in all of that was partly because of Dougie Ross, because he was a star on television. Every time they won a round, they got interviewed. And Dougie, how many times? He was on, God knows how many times. He was never off the television. You think this is your year? Well, I think it could be. There was never a snowball's chance of winning. But it showed the atmosphere that was around the club at that and I've got to say, nowadays that has returned. The rugby club is doing fantastically well just now, and they're not only scoring, etc., but just in the atmosphere, their community feel, the number of girls that are playing now. You come in here on a Sunday, and there's wee lasses this height here with their tracksuits on, all ready to get out there to get into it. It's great to see it, and it's great, of course, for the club. Oh heck, I bet going. Well, this is one of the days that the rugby club will use for local charities. They have it's a main day that causes traffic jams, something awful in the village. It's a shame that happens, but they do really well, and there's clubs from all over Scotland come, youngsters with their senior teams as well. Don't know why that's in there. Other things that we were doing, this was, I think it was Rosanna, no, not Rosanna.
Is it Rowena?
Rowena used to do this as a main workout, and there was a couple of hundred people. Unfortunately, the camera is not very, it's concentrating on the figures here rather than the crowd of people that were out there. But it was a smashing day, and another thing that happens at the club, along with a lot of other things. Now, can't miss this one out. Raj and Sicily. They had curry nights here. We had 3 or 4 curry nights, and Raj and Sicily made the whole meal. The last one was for 100 people in the lounge there, and the ladies, if you were in charge of a table, I was asking Irene this today, you got a sari, and all the ladies wore a sari when they were serving the meal at it. And this is the personal invitation that you got, all hand done. And there was the menu. Now imagine making all of that for 100 people. Yeah. I had to raid the school kitchen to get these big silver boxes. You know the big silver boxes that you transport, and they were filled up with all these different things. Again, people mucking in, helping out, maybe one-off. It's an effort to keep the club floating and thriving. Weddings. What makes you think that boy in the kilt there is a rugby player? The weddings, yeah. And that's the hall when it's done up. We've got the lovely lining, lighting, meal, fantastic meal. And what's the maximum we can take, Brendan, just in case anybody's interested?
There was 160 at the meal at that one.
160. Fantastic effort.
All steaks.
Oh, Steve. Oh, we won.
Willie Semple. Willie, we were not selling the tickets for the duck race very well. There was a lot left. So Willie went and hired this duck, and before we knew it, all the tickets were sold. So, but Willie was Paul Carey's best mate. The two of them used to sing some really funny songs. Some of them were a bit near the bone, I've got to say, but they were very, very funny. And again, great ambassadors for the club, great helpers. Other people that have helped, there's guys out the bowling club taking the youngsters. They did it for a couple of years and started it up again, taking the youngsters for the bowling. This was them getting £1,000 from Stirling Council. And here's two ragamuffins, Dr. Brian Keithley. Brian and Colin, you all know Colin. Unfortunately, Jimmy McGibbon's hands have been on this and the paint has come off onto the picture. But Brian had a reputation of being a bit of an arty guy, and I mean he was a doctor, as I say, and he liked his drams. It was easier to get a dram out of Brian than a medical line for your illness. And Colin has, of course, again, one of these guys, you just need to say, hey, we need this, we need that, and he mucks in and does whatever's required, along with a whole lot of other folk in the club. Like Bruce here, Mr. Dependable. He's never ever, when I've phoned him to say, oh Bruce, we'll get this, something's wrong, he's always been there. Maybe at 9 o'clock at night, right enough, but he always makes a point of getting there. This is the concrete team. We were doing the concreting around the back. Gordon McKechnie and Paul Carey, Tom McGregor and the rest of the boys there, all helping. Is Dougie here?
Yes.
Is he?
He was. He said he had to go on to another meeting.
It's just that I was going to offer him a wee bit of advice not to drink too much, because you can see in his eyes there. He's a right good bucket there. I'll have a word with him privately about that. Dougie is the longest serving longest serving president of the club, chairman of the sports club that we've had. Been there a long time, so it's him to answer for all the things that you're going to complain about. Jeff Smith. Jeff was also a long-serving treasurer. You can see the tribute to him out in the hallway. He was an absolutely wonderful guy. He had a very, very dry sense of humour and a lovely way of giving you a telling off. Because Jeff was the treasurer and I was spending the money when we were building a lot of this stuff. And I must admit, I did overstep the mark occasionally and I needed a wee dressing down occasionally. And Jeff had a lovely way of doing it. He always knew you were getting a telling off, but in the nicest possible way. And Jeff's been away a long time now, it's a shame, but we really miss him. But a great stalwart of the club, great squash player, and you'll see in a minute, a good coach as well. Now, this picture here, you'll see Val and Brian and Fiona there, and at the back, Irene. I just want to mention a wee bit about Irene, because Irene has been, or was, the membership secretary in the club for, I think it was 17 years. And that was in the days before computers. You had to write it all out. And 750 names to be written out, names, addresses, envelopes addressed, because we had to send everything by envelope. And it is a huge task. And I must admit, I underestimated myself what it was all about. But she did the job faithfully, and she has run the concerts, various concerts and events, and helped out in any way that was really necessary. So a big thank you to her. The other person in the picture is the man in front of me here, Hugh. Hugh has been in the club for a long time. I first met Hugh when he used to bring a bunch of bowlers from farms round about the area every Sunday morning. And there was always an empty bottle of whiskey left after every game. And they didn't, you know, a normal session is 2 hours. You pay your 2 hours. His session was the length of time that to get through the bottle. And he's always been in the club, supporting the club, but also the main man for this bit that we're sitting in just now. And the club as a whole, when you look at it closely, it's kind of homespun. You know, there's bits, nails needing a bit of filler in them and all that kind of stuff. They're not quite right, but it's fine. But that's not the case in here. Hugh insisted that everything had to be just right. And even from the tables that Steve McLean made, they are beautiful tables, just to the way everything's fitted out. He's done it properly. And Hugh, thank you very much for it. Jim Nolan was the solicitor when we started off. The lease, he drew up the lease. And there's obviously, I forgot time, I'll go into talk about that in a minute or two, but Carol was the treasurer for many years. A number of couples that have joined the club, and you know, one joined, the other one joined automatically. Stan and Carol, it's amazing how often that crops up. But Jim, I mean, he's got a reputation of being a bit narky and all this, and with some justification. And I happened to be passing by when I was taking this photograph, and he was saying to Carol, "I don't care what you say, Carol, that glass of wine in my left-hand side of half full of wine was full when I went for a pee." But again, Jim, whenever any legal issues come up, Jim is the first person that we go to. There's the building squad. That's the team, including John Duckworth, Falafa. We called him Falafa for a while, and he asked us to stop saying Falafa, because what was Falafa the day, John? You know, he always was falling off of scaffolding or chairs or tables or whatever he was standing on. He would Falafa. And why do you want us to stop calling you that? He says, because if Meg finds out, I'll get murdered. So John again was a real pillar of the club, and Stan is on holiday just now. He'd have been here as well, getting his back slapped. And Ken, what can you say about Ken Kilgour other than Mr. Fix It? Anything that was wrong, Ken would fix it for you, and he had some intriguing ways of fixing things, right enough, but he always got a solution, which is the problem. And Tam in the middle, Tam the Bam, he was quite thin and small, and not small but thin, and he could get into places that the rest of us couldn't get into. A great worker, he could do anything, and he was a rugby man, of course, from Balfron, but we don't hold that against him. He's been involved in the club over the years, and is heavily involved in the rugby club for years as well. A wee word of advice. If you ever go into, or try to go into the kitchen when Brenda's got that look in her face, don't go in. Because that's her, what are you wanting? Get out of my kitchen. We tried to get Brenda years and years ago to become the manager of the club, and our kids were still at school, etc. And so no, I'm not interested. And then, because as soon as their kids left the school, we approached her again, and she couldn't say no, having said what she said the first time. So Brenda's been here for quite a long time now, and thank goodness she is here, because our takings from the fundraising, and the fundraising in the club, of course, is involved with the bar and the catering, etc. And it's just gone through the roof really, and all that's getting ploughed back into the club, and it's all to do with Brenda and her staff. She's great with the staff. She's very encouraging, and she gives them a boot in the backside if they need a boot in the backside. Now I have asked Brenda's permission to show a couple of wee pictures here, because I think this typifies what the club is all about and the attitude this is all about. Can you put on?
Yeah, if you tap the next one first, because it just says the title. Okay, so that was.
There's a couple of Dougie was taking. Dougie was involved in this mental health challenge where you, over 25 days you had to do 25 press-ups, and then each day you had to nominate somebody else after it.
Are you doing it, Douglas? Good morning, everybody. Lovely day for a swim. Day 15 of the push-up challenge for mental health awareness. My nomination. Anyone hold that one? Today, I'd like to nominate Walter Buchanan. Walter, wrong about you. Good luck, son. Here we go.
Okay. Make sure it does the 25.
Sandy, I'll just swing to the next one. Okay. And we'll go to this one.
Well, so you want in here?
No, you stay with it. You keep. I'm just switching back to the PowerPoint.
Okay. That's the attitude that we want to have. Dougie could have quite easily just did 25 press-ups, then I nominate somebody.
Yeah.
The next day, I nominate somebody, and going through the motions of it, you need to be a wee bit special to think of a new slant and things, make it fun, make it attractive, and that these videos have really caught on and achieved God knows how much money for doing that. So that's the kind of thing that we want to instill in the club, that attitude of going that wee bit extra to make things happen, and to it makes a big difference to your attitude to it, and everybody else who sees you doing it, they're taking it you as an example of what is possible.
And we're just about to go back in now. And on the current slide. Okay, so it's back to you.
So moving on from there, one person we cannot forget about is Moira. Moira, the woman who people can't say no to. You have to, when Moira asks you to do something, well, just do it. And she used to visit every new family that came into the village. She went to see them and welcome them to the village, and at the same time slip them a membership form of the sports club. But you did it. As I mentioned at Brenda's funeral, there was one time she was organising.
Moira's.
What did I say?
Brenda, I'm still here.
Oh God, I'm for it now. At Moira's funeral, we were having a safari dinner, and for those of you who don't know what safari dinners are, you gather in the club here, you throw out the hat where you're going for your starter, and then another back you go out your hat where you're going for your main course, and then you go back here for a drink and a sweet. And she was stuck for somebody to do a starter. Irene was away somewhere, and I was on my own. She said, could you do a starter for 8? Brenda, I just think of something. So I made a peach, pears and cream cheese, and it was hellish. I mean, it was absolutely awful. And we had, the people came in were very nice, and we got back to the in here, and I'm standing with Moira, and this person comes and says, everybody's talking about Sandy's poached peaches, poached pears. And Moira turned, I told you so, you see. You knew you could do it, Unfortunately, what they were talking about was how bad it was. But Moira has really, been, over the years, Mrs. FINTRY Sports Club. And she's irreplaceable. You can't get another Moira. Her family follow on, because Dot is now the treasurer of the sports club. I've retired, and Dot is following it on, and I'm sure Moira will be very proud that she's taken that on. The other folk in the picture there, Stan at the back. I haven't mentioned Stan very much, but I should have done. Stan used to be the company secretary of Stoddart Carpets, and we were looking for carpet for the bowling hall around the edges. And I said, we'll see if I get something. So they were holding a sale in Balfron High School of offcuts. And the lorry arrived here with the offcuts. Enough to go around the whole of the bowling hall. And paid next to nothing for it, And Stan, using his work influences, saved us an awful lot of money. And there's a whole lot of things like that. Stan's been the secretary of the club for a long, long time, and he has retired now as well. So we're going to miss him, but it was a toss-up between a week in Mora or a night at FINTRY Sports Club, and he chose Mora. So that's where he is. That's where he is just now. And Duckworth, Falafa, John is another one of the typical band of doers in the club. John had a bypass operation, to keep me right here, Meg, a bypass operation. He was chairman of the hall committee, and about 3 weeks after his operation, he was carrying bags of cement for the job in the hall. And actually, he must have been wrecked. There was wasn't any the worse for it, was he? He was fine. He was fine. But you know that we've John and I have had our problems over the years. We've had wee fights, all within the realms of. The worst fight of all was when we were away on holiday with Meg and John, and I had my daughter coming up one side of this hill in a car,
No, it was
and
Ian.
John had. Was it you, Harry?
No, it was Ian.
Oh, it was Ian.
Ian.
Aye, coming up this side, and John had Ian.
Yeah.
Aye, John was John was coming up with Ian this side, and I was coming up with somebody else this side, and we met at the top. Fortunately, I was driving a Volvo at the time, and there was hardly a scratch in the car, and John's car was stoved in. It was just undrivable. But even that didn't stop our friendship, which has been on for years and years, and sadly it can't go on now. But it was a great relationship that we had, and John had a great relationship with the FINTRY Sports Club. John has a great relationship no matter what organisation he's in. He always takes a leading light, and he's a doer, and he certainly contributes his part to the club. Now, the last thing I want to mention to you is the club is going to change. We'll have to change because now the turnover, thanks to bloody Brenda, the turnover now is to the extent where we have to pay tax, or we might have to pay. We won't have to pay tax, but the reason why we won't have to pay tax is that we have made a company, a subsidiary company of FINTRY Sports Club, FINTRY Trading CIC, and that does the fundraising activities for the club. And any profits that organisation makes, it can gift to the other organisation, FINTRY Sports Club. Although we own it, it's a legal way of transferring your profits into good causes. And so we were advised to do this by the Charities Commission, so we're not fiddling anything. And it's meant, you know, that we're going to have to change things around a wee bit. At the moment, we are an unincorporated charity, and we're hoping to become an incorporated charity. It's like a company becoming a limited company and not unlimited company. If you're a limited company, you've got protection, and your shareholders have got, the members of the club would have protection in that case. There would be no repercussions in anybody. But at the moment, actually there is. If we go pear-shaped, which we're not going to do. but that's why we want to change. We're going to change to an incorporated. It means that FINTRY Sports Club has got to stop existing, and a minute later the new company starts. If the same thing's going on as FINTRY Sports Club had to do, but it has to be a new start. We need a new lease, because the lease we've got with the community council would no longer exist, because the FINTRY Sports Club doesn't exist. And we're at the moment in negotiations with the community council to get a new lease and allow us to go on and progress the way we hope to. The other big advantage of being an incorporated charity is that grants are a lot easier to get. If you're an incorporated charity and you're applying, especially for the big money grants, you have more chance of getting it if you're incorporated, because you're a safe pair of hands. You're not going to suddenly have big bills to pay that have to be paid. We're, as I say, we're in negotiations with the community council just now, and we hope within the next week or so we'll get all that. And if you're a member of the club, you will get notification about it and what's happening. So I hope you've been a wee bit inspired by what the club's trying to do and what we expect.
You have more. I've got my last slides I need myself,
Right.
so I'll go to them. Fine, okay, shut that. I'll lose them. Thank you. Just leave it open.
I had other slides to show you, but that Peter, again, we'll finish all the stories now. If you're inspired to help at the club, we need help. If you no matter what it is your skills are, we can definitely use it. And you know, if you see a wee plea going out for volunteers needed for this, that, and the next thing, then please do think about coming up and helping. Okay, David, that's me.
Oh, that has been utterly astonishing. It is such a brilliant glimpse into the start and the progress. Everything you've said just rings so true. Over the years, when I worked locally, I would meet all the other heads in other schools, and they all kept saying the same thing. What is it that makes FINTRY so different? They all knew it was massively different from each of the fields in each of the other villages. And you've described it entirely tonight, the way that people volunteer, marking and helping, whatever. It's a massive, it's community, you're saying, Rosie, it's totally that, absolutely. And down to people entirely like yourself. It's just been brilliant. Please, one more fantastic round of applause for Sandy Kelso. Now, just before we make a rush, Rosie, your meeting's halfway through.
I know.
So tonight, FDT went here because they were having their financials meeting in the hub. The FINTRY Drama Club are through there just now. The Community Council are meeting in the Mingus. That's the way this village goes. I think there was another one. I have just about my end of slide, so I'm just going to whiz through what you didn't get. And I think there's clearly a part 2 coming up there, isn't there? Because you've cut yourself short there. But the problems you would have discussed are looking that you know. You are welcome to dive in. I'm going to move on to get to my end slides. What was that about?
That was one of our not so good ideas. We had 2 saunas and nobody used them at all. And we took them out. And last week I was saying, everybody wants a sauna now. Well, tough.
Oh yeah, so running the club, you would have gone on to explain the scale of it. That was the whole point of this, how many subsections there are. It's just incredible how and your description of where you need to go to benefit. The sections, an illustration of them's coming up. Sandy, you can chip in as we go to the end and I'll get to mine, okay? Do you want to just keep hitting the bar and shout out a sentence as you go? So this, what was that? What was the...
Put it back.
Yeah, just I'll show it back if you want. So, just there, you're on.
This is Princess Anne visiting the riding for the disabled.
Riding for disabled, which is really big for years.
She's the one on the cart.
And just keep hitting the bar, Sandy, if you have something to say, it's fine.
This is just some pictures of different sections. That's the bowlers. Again, Irene opening the bowling green.
Sandy.
That's the bowlers. Don't tell you the most beaten club in Scotland. Bowling Christmas, if anybody's interested, we'll have a wee Christmas 28th of, if you don't bowl but you'd like to have a go at it, there's an event on the 28th of December. This is Jeffrey with the squads. I wonder if anybody knows who the wee guy is, 2 along from Jeff.
Yeah. Is it Ryan?
Who is it?
No. John Chambers.
Oh, I know.
John the voice that you hear out there. And this was one of the fundraising events that they had as a 24-hour squash match, and it lasted all night. And kids raised quite a bit of money for the club. There's Julian. Julian is, as you know, was one of the first of the club to get representing Scotland. Pete Cuthbertson also had represented Scotland in the thing, and we've had 2 lady bowlers play for the indoor team, and Don Chalmers played for the Scottish Disabled Bowlers. Rugby were Rory Kerr and David Barrett and Stuart Campbell, Fintry boy, played for Scotland for many
Sandy
years.
Julian became the best Secretary of State for Northern Ireland the country's ever had.
And Joanna Barrington was, sorry, it's my fault for cutting the head off there. Joanna Barrington was the British champion for 6 times, and he came to Fintry quite regularly to do a bit of coaching. There's Pam's class.
Pam's here tonight.
All right, well, I'm glad we've. And we're just back to the original rugby, one of the original rugby teams. Ken Kilgour's there. Ian Turner in the drama club. He's third from the left in the bottom. Bobby Telfer, who used to teach at the high school. And you recognise a lot of the folk. A lot of them helped.
Mark Norville.
Mark Norville, yeah. And the future we've talked about.
Just hold it there, that's fine.